Do I look the same as I do in all of the quality of life spoiler videos that I did for the Cosmere? Yes. Yes, I do, because I figured if I went to the effort of putting in an hour to do all of this, might as well get as much bang for my buck and do as many videos as I can. So I'm going to go ahead and list off my August reads. Yes, I'm still 5 days from the end of the month, but I probably am going to be pretty busy and don't expect to finish a whole lot more than I already have. Starting back at the beginning of the month when I was painting this absolutely massive canvas for my boyfriend to hang on his office wall at work, I did another re-listen of Elantris because I am planning to do a whole bunch of Cosmere content and wanted to start going back through the Cosmere in preparation for Secret Project 4 coming out in October, and also Stormlight Archive book number 5 that's going to be coming out in late 2024, because I feel like it's going to take me about the next year to do all of the Cosmere content that I want to do. And I realized that I loved Elantris so much more this time through than I ever have before. I forgot that it was the political drama of the Cosmere, that it was this slow invasion that was taking place where you have a foreign priest who is sent to convert this country, or else you've got a princess who marries into the royal family of a neighboring nation. I really appreciate the fact that the princess is 25 years old, because you don't see a whole lot of fantasies where the main character is in their mid-20s. You have a bunch of teenagers and older mentors, but you don't have just people in their 20s, 30s, and 40s doing stuff going around, so really liked that. And I will have a whole video on Elantris, so I'll move on before this video gets way too long. I read The Dead Take the A Train, which is an advanced reader copy that I got at San Diego Comic-Con last month. I have a separate video for that here on this channel. The title really says everything that you need to know about it. I read it, so you don't have to. Did not enjoy it, did not have a good time. I finished The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea. I actually started this one back in July, and then it kind of fell off my radar because I had been wanting to read more fantasy fiction that was inspired by Asian mythology ever since I read Iron Widow last year, and this one just didn't quite hit the mark for me. The premise is that this girl dives into the ocean to sacrifice herself to the sea god because her village sacrifices one girl every year, and the girl that they picked was her brother's girlfriend, and so she went in place of her, and she's trying to figure out how to break this curse. And the way that the story is told doesn't have the same weight that I was expecting from that premise, which isn't a problem with the story itself, it was a problem with my expectations. I still think it was a good story, it was a good standalone, it wrapped up pretty well. There's some fantastical mythology that happens in the book. It just wasn't exactly what I was looking for at the time, but I still recommend it as a book. Blade of Dream by Daniel Abraham. This was another one that I started back in July and was kind of rationing myself on because it is what I went and was listening to when I just had absolutely horrible experiences with books like He Who Breaks the Earth or The Dead Take the A Train, or just wanted something that I was really excited about when I was struggling through The Girl Who Fell Beneath the Sea, because it wasn't exactly my cup of tea. Because Daniel Abraham does such good character work that every time I pick up one of his books, I'm like, yes, like this is what I want from character-driven stories, because he's out here writing complex, complicated people in difficult relationships, communicating with each other, and being healthy people, which I don't know about anybody else, but I think we need more of that in fiction, because one of the best lines that has ever happened was in The Expanse, and I don't know if he wrote it or his co-author wrote it, but it was a Naomi scene, and he wrote a lot of the Naomi stuff. But she's having a conversation with Holden after she's decided to leave the Roci because of issues, and they have a conversation, and she's like, we're not okay right now, but we're going to be. And damn if that is not something that people need to hear more often from fiction, because it's not always sunshine and rainbows. Relationships take work, and in Daniel Abraham's books, you see people putting in the work. Go and read everything that he's ever written, because it's got really good characters in it, even if the plot sometimes falls a little flat like it did for me in The Long Price Quartet. Fantastic characters across the board. Hats off to you, sir. I also read the Illuminae Files, the whole trilogy, blew through that in under a week. I have a separate review for that whole series that I'll be posting at some point. It's the story of this invasion that happens, and each book of the trilogy follows a different pair of teenagers in a different aspect of this invasion. Thought the whole thing was great. Have more thoughts on that in a separate video, so I'll keep it short here. I did not finish Fledgling by Octavia Butler. This is only the second Octavia Butler book I've tried to read. I had to read Parable of the Sower for a women's literature class in college, and I may just not be a fan of her writing, but specifically in Fledgling, the story starts out this relationship between this young girl who's a vampire and this guy who finds her and picks her up, and the relationship dynamic is just a little icky for me because she's 53 and she looks like she's 10 and the guy's in his early 20s, and yeah, just was uncomfortable for me, so didn't finish it, gave it back to the library, is what it is. And then I've been working my way through the first of the Mistborn books, again in my efforts to go back through the whole Cosmere and do a bunch of deep dive content for anybody who finds this channel, or more likely the two people who know me and know that I have a YouTube channel, and maybe my writers group, I don't know. But there's already been a couple of things where I was like, oh, I didn't realize that happened that early in Mistborn. And so I'm really excited to do separate videos on all of the Cosmere books. I want to do plot recaps for anybody who wants to get into the Cosmere but kind of wants to know what they're getting into, or somebody that just needs a Cliff Notes version before we have Stormlight 5 come out next year, because it takes a while to get through these books, unless you're me and you listen to them in 3 days and then re-listen to them, because you might have a problem and your happy place is just listening to the Cosmere audiobooks while cleaning your house. But I digress. So that is what I have read so far in August, up to the 26th. If I finish anything else, I'll put an end note at the end of this video with what else I wrapped up. And until next time, stay spicy.